Hello and welcome to Trivia Night. I'm Daniel Blacksmith and we're here with Micah Jones. The immigration station, now a historical site, opened in 1892 and is located between New York and New Jersey.
Ellis Island.
Correct.
Many famous people left their original names on the entry form into America. In 1893, Belen from Israel arrived in the U.S., changing his name to become the famous composer Irving Berlin.
Okay, Shay. What event caused the Wounded Knee Massacre to occur?
A shot between the U.S. and the Native Americans.
We are back with Micah. And what event led to the riot of children in New York during July 1899?
What is the news strike?
And we are back with Shay. The first Boston Marathon took place on April 19th, 1897. Who was the person who came in first place?
It was...
It seems time is running out. We'll come back to that answer after the commercial.
John Graham came up with the idea of the marathon. He was a U.S. Olympic manager and a member of the Boston Athletic Association. It was inspired by the Olympic Games in Athens, taking place during 1896.
It is December 29th. Good morning, and we will be talking on the topic of ghost dancing. The U.S. government has begun to worry about the influence of ghost dancing. This dance is a ritual that the Native Americans believed would restore traditions, allow them to return to their normal way of life, and drive the colonists off their land. The natives were taught that because of their denial of their original customs, the punishment would be confinement to the reservations. And we are back with Shay, and he is going to tell us who came first in the Boston Marathon.
Was it John McDermott?
Correct.
Herbert H. Holland helped John Graham choose the routes that would be taken in the marathon to McCaff's Mill in Ashland, Maine. In the end route chosen was a 24.5-mile run from the Eyring Oval in Boston. 15 runners ran the marathon, but only 10 runners made it to the finish line. The event took place on Patriots' Day. McDermott won the only other U.S. marathon the previous October in New York. John McDermott, representing the Pastime Athletic Club, took the lead of Dick Grant at Harvard Athletics. McDermott stopped to walk many times, but won with a difference of 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Patriots' Day commemorates the beginning of the Revolutionary War. The race was moved to the following Monday if it happened to fall on a Sunday. Women were not originally allowed to compete in the Boston Marathon.
No papers for Pulitzer or Hearst.
1890s newspapers were the only form of media or information. The two major newspaper brands of this time were New York World and the New York Journal. They were owned by Joseph Pursley and William Randolph Hearst. Newspapers were sold for a penny at this time. Newsboys were usually poor orphans and runaways. Newsboys had to be persuasive to sell newspapers. If they didn't sell enough papers, they couldn't buy more for it the next day. This would leave them hungry and without the resources they need for survival. The Newsboys' strike began when both Poulterizer and Hearst decided they wanted to make more money.
In 1668, there was a 60 million acre area for the Pine Ridge Indians, but was cut down to 21.7 million acres in 1877.
On December 15th, 1890, the reservation police arrested Sitting Bull, the Sioux tribe leader, for being a suspected ghost dancer. Sitting Bull was killed in the process of his arrest. On December 29th, 1890, the U.S. Army 7th Cavalry surrounded a group of ghost dancers with Bigfoot, a Lakota Sioux chief, near Wooney Creek. They were forced to surrender their weapons. During the process, a fight broke out between an Indian and a U.S. soldier. A shot was fired, but it was unclear from which side. A brutal massacre occurred, leaving 150 Indians dead and 225 soldiers dead.
The Wounded Knee Massacre occurred on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the southwestern South Dakota.
The massacre was the climax of the U.S. Army's late 19th century efforts to repress the Plains Indians.
It was fought by the North American Indians and the U.S. government's representatives.
This massacre left 150 Native Americans dead during the final battles of the federal government and the Sioux tribes.
In the creation of basketball, in the beginning, they never had a three-point line.
James Naismith created the game in December of 1891. It was created in Springfield, Massachusetts. The objective was to throw a ball into a fruit basket nailed to a gym balcony. Originally, there were only 13 rules. The game featured 9 players per team. The original ball used in the game was a soccer ball. The first professional basketball team was created in 1898. Basketball games would pause as someone grabbed a ladder to retrieve the ball.
Go.
Green! Shit, I missed. Oh!
As John J. McDermott won the race, and as time was 2 hours, 55 minutes, 10 seconds at the world's first ever Boston Marathon.
Come on.
Ellis Island is located at the mouth of the Hudson River. It sits between New York and New Jersey. Ellis Island saw many immigrants pass through their station. Most people left their homes because of war, drought, famine, or religious persecution. All immigrants expected to find better opportunities in the New World. Food on Ellis Island was plentiful. Unlike the common option, most meals included beef stew, potatoes, bread, herring, baked beans, and stewed prunes. Immigrants were introduced to new foods such as bananas, ice cream, sandwiches, and unfamiliar preparation techniques. Ellis Island also contained independent concessions that sold packaged food for immigrants waiting to pass through or for them to take while leaving. People coming to America had to go through difficult voyages to get to Ellis Island. Once at the island, they were tagged with information and had to pass medical and legal inspections to determine if they could continue to America. Most immigrants remained in New York. Others took barges to railroad stations to Hoboken or Jersey City. This would start them on their journey around the New World. After the Civil War, Ellis Island was vacant as a munition factory. The government in 1890 decided to close down Castle Garden. The federal government took control of creating Ellis Island as an immigration center with $75,000 for construction. During construction, artisan wells are dug and the size of the island's land doubles to 6 acres. Landfills were also created for incoming ships, ballasts, and excavations of subway tunnels in New York. The Ellis Island Immigration Station officially opened January 1st, 1892. The large ships waited to land with 700 immigrants in tow. During the first year of Ellis Island's opening, 450,000 people passed through the station. On June 15th, 1897, a fire broke out in the main building, causing the roof to collapse. No one was killed in the fire, but records going back to 1840 and of Castle Garden were destroyed. The immigration station is relocated to Manhattan's Battery Park in the Burrage office. The new facility opened in December and 2,251 people passed through on opening day. On January 1st, 1982, 15-year-old Anne Moore from County Cork, Ireland, became the first person to go through Ellis Island's immigration station. She received a $10 gold piece and traveled to New York with her brothers on the SS Nevada. It left Queenstown, Ireland on December 20th, 1891, and arrived in New York on December 31st, 1891. Doctors checked immigrants for more than 60 different diseases and disabilities that could disqualify them from going to America. All immigrants were checked for trachoma, a very contagious eye condition. To check for trachoma, a doctor would have to use a button hook to flip the patient's eyelids inside out. Many patients recall this procedure being very scared and or painful. During the opening of the island, few people came from Germany, Ireland, Britain, and Scandinavian countries. Immigrants also came from Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, Siberia, Slovakia, Greece, Turkey, and Syria. The Klondike Gold Rush started in August of 1896. Skookum, Jim Mason, Dawson Charlie, and George Washington Cormack found gold in the area around Klondike River in Canada. In 1897, an army of gold-seeking traveled to the Yukon Territory to find gold. However, most of the bounty was captured and sent north from Seattle and other Pacific part cities. From 1897 to 1898, stampedes roamed into Alaskan tents, eager to make the 600-mile trek to the goldfields. Hardships were faced during this period, such as murders, suicides, malnutrition, diseases, hypothermia, and heartbreak. The Chilliwack Trail was the toughest because no packed animal could travel it. It's estimated 20,000 to 30,000 gold seekers spent an average of 3 months packing their stuff to the lakes. By the summer of 1898, there was 18,000 people in Dawson, only 5,000 working the digs. A large amount of stampedes left broke from their pursuit of gold. The next year, a large amount of gold was discovered in Nome, Alaska. This ended the Klondike Gold Rush. The gold rush was discovered on August 16, 1896, near Bonsai Creek. Many animals became stuck and died, earning the trail the nickname the Dead Horse Trail. It's estimated that 3,000 horses died on White Pass. The increase in miners has fluctuated the amount of infrastructure there was, meaning a boom in building houses for miners. Most of the prospectors were just regular people. Even the mayor of Seattle resigned from his position to search for gold. There were 2 main trails to gold fields, leading from Dieppe and the White Pass Trail out of Saraway. As mandated by officials, travelers had to bring a year's worth of food with them on the journey, which was impossible to carry up in one trip. In fact, it often took 20 to 30 trips. Benjamin Harrison was the 23rd President of the United States from 1889 to 1893, elected after conducting one of the first front porch campaigns by delivering short speeches to delegates that visited him from Indianapolis. In 1891, The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle has submitted the first of 6 Sherlock Holmes stories, the Strand magazine, in April of 1892.
Go.
Green!
Shit, I missed. Oh! Women's NBA be like. And then we can just cut it. Retreat! They're coming! They're coming!
Yeah!